I walked up to the bathroom mirror, hooked my fingers into the corners of my mouth, and pulled. Forced myself to smile. My teeth are yellow. Nicotine stains ground in over years of nervous days and sleepless nights. My eyes are red. Little burst blood vessels spreading across the whites like cracks in old porcelain. But that's just from the insomnia. The last few days I've been sleeping in pieces, jolting awake at every sound outside the window. My nails are short, bitten down, but clean, no dirt underneath. I look okay, I guess. Though what does okay even mean anymore? The whole idea of normal has gone blurry, and I'm not sure it exists in this world at all. At first, I refused to believe it. Figured it was some kind of hoax, or just the kind of panic the news whips up and then walks back the next morning. When they first mentioned the sun on TV, the sun becoming a killer, I rolled my eyes and changed the channel. But pretty soon, I saw it for myself. The apocalypse I used to read about in sci-fi paperbacks had materialized, dug its teeth into reality. The Earth writhing under a merciless star that had swollen, turned red-hot, and was now scorching everything alive. During the day, you can't even crack a curtain. The light rips inside and blinds you, burns your skin. At night, there's a break, but even that's a lie. Because at night, they come. The guests. The radio, the only voice left from the outside world, keeps saying the same thing on a loop. These things look like people. They copy mannerisms, voices, even the faces of people you know. And that's what makes them so dangerous. The worst part is they can knock on your door and call you by name, and you'll open it without a second thought. The broadcast listed the signs. Teeth that are unnaturally white, polished like they're glowing. Dirt packed under the fingernails, like they just clawed their way out of the ground. And very red eyes. Now I know what to look for. Lot of good it does me. Knowing just makes the paranoia worse. It's night right now, a little past 1 in the morning. I cracked the curtain about an inch and looked out through the gap. Nothing's changed outside. Same dead landscape, frozen like a photograph from a nightmare. The Hendersons' house across the street is empty. Windows smashed out, black gaps where the glass used to be. And outside, on the porch, the burned bodies. The Hendersons, their daughter. The girl was 10, maybe 11. I can't remember exactly, but her face, pale, locked in an expression of absolute terror. I see it even when I close my eyes. I've been watching out this window a lot the last few nights. The TV turned into a useless box a while back. No signal. Only the old AM radio, and these windows still connect me to whatever's left of the world. A few days ago, I watched somebody walk up to the Hendersons' door. The person was stumbling, like they were exhausted, or pretending to be. I didn't get a good look because the Hendersons opened the door pretty quick and let them in. I remember thinking, why? How can you trust anyone right now? The next night I heard breaking glass. When I got to the window, I saw them. Mr. Henderson was hanging halfway out of the broken window. His neck ended in a ragged stump, like something had bitten his head clean off. His wife was at the front door, on the steps, holding her daughter against her. She'd obviously been trying to shield the girl with her body. It hadn't worked. The blood ran down the steps and soaked into the cracks of the wooden porch, already gone dark. They let in the wrong one. I'm not going to make that same mistake. My eyes settled on the little girl, on what was left of her. I thought about my daughter, Lily. She's 7. She's with her mom in a city about 50 miles from here. At least that's what I'm hoping. The calls stopped a week ago, and every day of silence presses down on me heavier than the last. Lauren and I divorced 6 months ago. That's how I ended up out here, at the cabin, about an hour's drive outside the city. She got the apartment. I didn't fight it. Didn't see the point. The cabin suited me fine. It's a solid place. Year-round insulation, heat, running water, electricity. I worked remotely, so the move wasn't a problem. This house, these walls, are where the three of us used to spend summer evenings. I'd grill out back while Lily ran through the yard, and Lauren stretched out in the sun. We built snowmen here in the winter, decorated the Christmas tree right out in the yard. After the divorce, Lily stayed with Lauren, and I only got her every couple of weeks. That used to hurt like hell. And now there are 50 miles between us, and I don't know if my little girl is still breathing. The first night all this broke loose, the sun, the fires, the guests, I didn't think twice. Jumped in the truck and drove. I was going to get to them, get Lily and Lauren, take them somewhere safe. But the roads were blocked. Military checkpoints everywhere. Soldiers in masks with rifles, standing 3 deep. I tried going around on back roads, cutting through county routes, looping through farmland. Same thing everywhere. Barriers, concertina wire, orders to turn back. Around dawn, I gave up and called Lily instead. Her voice was shaking.
Daddy, are you coming?
I promised her I'd find a way, that I'd be there soon. The next night, my truck was gone. Stolen while I slept. A day after that, the TV died. Screen went gray static, then nothing. The cell signal dropped out too. My phone became a piece of plastic I kept picking up out of habit. And that's how I've been living. Alone. There's a supply of food in the pantry. Should last about a month if I stretch it. And there's a shotgun in the closet. A buddy gave it to me a few years back. Solid gun. But the only things I'd ever shot with it were tin cans. I was never a hunter. Taking life, even animal life, was never something that sat right with me. Like I said, the Hendersons are gone. But there's still one other neighbor left alive. Stan lives in the house to my left. Big guy, maybe 50, a beard on him, like a park ranger. He's on his own too. We don't talk. Too dangerous. Instead, we leave notes, pressing sheets of paper flat against our windows so the other can read them from across the way. Black marker, big block letters. I'm alive. No signal. Yesterday his window had a new one. Killed a guest. I read it and felt something cold crawl down my back. Is that what it's going to come to for me? Then, 3 hard knocks at the door that made me flinch like I'd been grabbed from behind. My heart slammed into overdrive. My hands went to the shotgun before my brain caught up. I crossed to the door and pressed my eye to the peephole. There was a guy on the porch. Something about his face bothered me immediately. High forehead, eyes set deep, upturned nose. And he was staring straight at the peephole, like he knew exactly where it was. But more than anything else, it was the smile. Wide. Unnatural. Like someone had stretched his mouth and pinned it there. "Hey!" His voice was bright, almost cheerful. "What do you want?" I said, not moving from the peephole.
Nice house. I really like it.
What the hell? Who is this guy, and what does he want?
I have a shotgun,
I said, trying to keep my voice steady.
Oh, excellent.
He almost laughed. The smile never moved.
But tell me, are you home alone?
Something dropped in my stomach. The lie came out on its own.
No, I'm not alone. Walk away before I come out there and put a hole in your skull.
He went still, just stood there, staring at the peephole like he could see straight through it. Then he smiled even wider, and I saw his teeth. White. Blindingly, impossibly white, like a toothpaste commercial.
Lucky day for you,
he said, dropping his voice.
but who knows what tomorrow looks like.
Get out of here, I shouted, feeling panic crush my throat. He backed off slowly, no rush, no fear, and disappeared around the side of the house. I put my back against the door. My heart had fallen somewhere down into my gut and was flopping around in there. Was that a guest? Or just one of the unhinged people wandering around now? There are plenty of both. I dragged a hand across my face, wiped the sweat off my forehead. God, how much longer can I do this? Morning came. I turned on the radio out of habit. It rattled out the same thing it always does.
Attention, do not leave your homes. Lock your doors. Only allow real people inside. Do not let in the guests.
I clicked it off. Nothing new. Went to the kitchen and counted my supplies. 12 cans of beef stew, 5 cans of beans, about a dozen other assorted cans, 2 cartons of eggs, still okay so far, a few bags of oatmeal and rice, a jar of pickles, 2 jars of tomatoes that Lauren had canned herself last fall. In the fridge, some beers, a package of lunch meat, and 1 lonely onion. Enough for a month if I live leaner than I used to. Maybe this nightmare ends before then. Then I felt sick for even thinking it. Sitting here, eating out of cans, just waiting it out, while Lily, my kid, is somewhere out there, and I don't know if she's alive. But what was I going to do? Walk outside? That was a death sentence. And getting through the military roadblocks? You'd need a tank. All I could do was hope she was okay, that Lauren was keeping her safe. I fell into the routine that keeps me sane. Checked all the locks, checked all the curtains, not a crack of light getting through. Went back to the radio, turned the dial looking for any signal, anything besides that same recorded warning. Static and silence. To keep my hands busy, I sharpened knives, whetstone, kitchen cleaver, and my old man's hunting knife I found in a drawer. The scrape of steel on stone was calming. Gave me the feeling of having some control over something. When I finished, I figured I'd earned a break. Pulled a cold beer from the fridge, drank it standing over the sink. Then sat down and had another. The warmth spread through me. My eyelids got heavy. I stretched out on the couch and was gone before I knew it. Woke up close to 11 at night, like I usually do. First thing, I looked out the window. Something was different. Over at Stan's house, a new note taped to the glass. Uneven, scrawled letters. Out of food. Coming to you. I frowned. Strange. Just yesterday, he'd written something about his supplies running low. But going out there, that was suicide. I hadn't even finished the thought when there was a fast knock at the door. I grabbed the shotgun, it lives in arm's reach now, and went to the door. Through the peephole, Stan. He must have seen my light on and actually come over. He looked rough, hollowed out face, eyes jumping around, movements tight and jerky.
"Hey, neighbor, let me in."
He said fast, almost stumbling over the words.
"Food's gone. Don't leave me to die on your front step. 2 people is better than 1 anyway. Let me in."
How do I know you're not a guest? I said, gripping the gun.
Are you kidding me right now? What kind of guest would I be? It's me, Stan.
Show me your teeth. He made a face like I'd said something stupid.
You're gonna ask me a secret question only we'd know, like in the movies? And instead you go with teeth? What are you even gonna see in this light?
He did bare his teeth, but in the dim glow from the porch, I honestly couldn't make out much. Then your hands. Show me your nails.
Buddy, I live out here full time. I garden. Of course there's dirt under my nails.
I'm sorry, Stan. I can't let you in.
Are you out of your mind?
He raised his voice.
I risked my life coming over here.
I know. I'm sorry. I can't. That's when he lost it. He started kicking the door, slamming into it with his shoulder, cursing me out, screaming. For a second, I thought the frame might actually give. "Stan, I'm warning you." He didn't stop. I racked the shotgun. That sharp mechanical sound cut through the noise. Stan went still. Then, in a rough, ragged voice,
Fine. Go to hell. I'll die out here. That's on your conscience.
"Wait." It came out of my mouth before I'd thought it through. I bolted to the kitchen, grabbed 2 cans of stew out of the pantry, went to the side window, cranked it open, and threw them toward his porch.
I'm sorry.
I called after him. I barely watched long enough to see him shuffling back toward his house before I slammed the window shut. What a mess. I felt terrible. Is this it now? Nobody can be trusted? Yeah, I told myself. Nobody. 2 more days, nights really, went by. People knocked several more times. Some asked for food. Some begged to sleep inside. A few looked like regular survivors, wrecked, hollow-eyed, people who'd lost everything. Others seemed like they'd completely lost their minds. One guy stood outside screaming that the sun was God's punishment for the sins of mankind. I didn't open the door for anyone. Fear locked me in place. Some of the people on my porch were injured, blood seeping through torn clothes, faces gray as ash. Leaving them out there was the same as sentencing them to death. I knew that. But every time the footsteps faded and the shame hit me, the fear was already ahead of it, drowning it out. Stan stopped writing. After the night he came over, his window had 1 note on it. A very short, very direct suggestion about what I could do with myself. 3 words. It was still up there. I had no idea if he was alive or dead. I'd look through the gap in my curtain at his dark house and see nothing. No movement, no light. Then one night, there was a knock. Quiet, like whoever it was didn't want to draw attention. I flinched, grabbed the gun. The clock said 12:12 a.m. Heart hammering, I made myself get up and go to the door. Through the peephole, a woman with 2 kids. They were pressed against each other, like they were trying to share whatever body heat they had left. Dirty, torn clothes, gray faces, sunken eyes. They were painful to look at. The boy was about 10, wearing only shorts, covered in scrapes and grime, skin raw-looking. The girl looked maybe 5, in a shredded dress, hiding her face against her mother's side.
Hello.
The woman's voice was fragile, barely there, but still holding on to something.
Please, help us. Let us in, just to rest for a little while. I can't walk anymore.
They looked like they were about to collapse on my doorstep. And those kids, they looked like Lily. The way the little girl was clinging to her mother's hand. The boy standing there with his shoulders dropped, shaking in the dark.
We haven't eaten in 2 days.
The woman went on. Her voice was trembling, but she was holding herself together by will alone.
We haven't slept. We've had almost nothing to drink. Please, I'm begging you.
I can't, I said, and the words felt like I was choking on them. She dropped her head. Then she looked back up, and her eyes were pure desperation.
I understand you're scared. Everyone is scared. But if you won't let me in, at least take the children. They're so small. They won't survive another night outside.
I looked at the girl again. Her eyes, enormous, wide open. They were exactly like Lily's. The way Lily would look at me when she asked me to stay a little longer on those rare weekends we had together. I remembered her running through the yard of this cabin, laughing, picking wild strawberries off the fence, falling asleep against me on this couch. And then the thought hit me like a blade. What if Lauren and Lily are out there right now, knocking on some stranger's door and getting turned away? Just one night, I told myself. One night. I'll figure out the rest in the morning. I held the door for another few seconds. Then I clicked the deadbolt, slid the chain off, and slowly pulled it open. The woman froze, then took one unsteady step forward, holding the kid's hands.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, thank you.
Her voice was shaking, eyes wet.
We won't be any trouble. We'll be quiet. We just need a little food. Right, kids?
I nodded and gestured toward the stairs. Guest room and bathroom up there. Use whatever you need. The shotgun was still in my hands, finger resting near the trigger just in case. But they didn't do anything suspicious. The woman moved slowly toward the stairs, the children tucked against her, all three of them watching me sideways. I didn't know who was more afraid of who. I double-locked the front door, went to the kitchen, pulled out a couple cans of stew. Then, I thought about the kids and grabbed a can of peaches from the back of the shelf. Maybe something sweet would help. Not exactly a home-cooked meal, but right now, that's practically luxury. When I got upstairs, all three of them were already out cold. The woman, curled up on the far edge of the bed, both kids tucked under her arms. The boy had his head on her shoulder. The girl was pressed against her chest. They were so exhausted they hadn't even heard me come in. I set the cans quietly on the nightstand, pulled the door almost shut, and went back downstairs. Before I went to sleep, I locked my bedroom door, twice, tested it, and laid the shotgun on the floor next to the bed, where I could grab it without looking. Sleep came fast, but it was choppy. I kept surfacing from the dark, jolting awake at sounds that might, or might not, have been real. Then, I woke up hard, like something had shoved me. Just awake, instantly, completely. The house was too quiet. That specific kind of quiet that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. The clock said 11:45 at night. Strange. With two kids upstairs, it should have been anything but quiet by now. But there was nothing. Just that heavy, pressing silence. I got up. Something was already prickling along my skin. I turned my bedroom key as slowly as I could. The hallway was dark. I hit the light switch, stepped toward the stairs, and then I stopped. There were dark stains on the steps. Thick, glistening. A sharp metallic smell hit me before I could process what I was seeing. Fresh blood. My heart kicked so hard I felt it in my teeth. I gripped the shotgun until my knuckles ached and started climbing, placing each foot carefully, stepping around the stains. My finger was trembling on the trigger. Sweat soaking through my shirt. The guest room door was cracked open. Dark inside. Curtains drawn. But the smell, something heavy and sweet, was hanging in the air. And it wasn't right. I reached in and flicked the light on. She was on the couch, arms spread wide, like a broken doll dropped from a height. Eyes open, wide, empty, staring straight up at nothing. Her throat was gone. A ragged wound where something had torn into it, ripped through flesh and muscle, all the way to bone. Blood had soaked through the cushions and spread across the floor in a dark pool. My stomach knotted. I took a step back, tried to hold down the nausea clawing up my throat. Where are the kids?
Ethan.
A whisper, barely audible, from the corner of the room. I spun around so fast I nearly dropped the gun. Danny and Grace were standing there, holding hands, looking at me, not blinking. "What?" My voice cracked, came out reedy and thin. "What happened? What?" The children stepped forward and smiled. Their mouths stretched, pulled wider than mouths should go, nearly up to their ears, and their teeth, perfectly, impossibly white, like fresh snow in moonlight. Ice ran straight down my spine. The radio's voice played in my head. Guests have unnaturally white teeth, red eyes, dirt under the fingernails. The eyes. I'd seen the red veins in their eyes that morning and told myself it was exhaustion. The teeth. Everything matched. I should have thrown them out when I had the chance. The shotgun was shaking in my hands. I raised it, aimed, and my finger went dead on the trigger. I couldn't do it. Couldn't pull that trigger on children, even if they weren't children. Their smiles stayed fixed, masks that didn't move, and they walked toward me. Slow, in perfect sync, like they were being moved by the same invisible hand. I threw myself backward through the door and slammed it. Braced myself against it with everything I had. What do I do? Banging from inside, hard and rhythmic, little fists and feet, hammering. I could feel the door flexing. Whatever those things were, they were stronger than they looked. I grabbed a chair from the hallway and jammed it under the door handle. It wouldn't hold long, but it was time. I ran for the stairs, legs barely under me, hit the bottom step and froze. My bedroom door was open. A tall man in a shredded jacket stepped out of it, looked at me, and grinned.
Nice house.
Before I could say a word, the kitchen door swung open. Two women, identical, stepped through side by side. One tilted her head at an angle that was slightly too far and said,
"Cozy little place."
From behind other doors, footsteps, creaking floorboards, voices overlapping, multiplying, spreading through the rooms.
Real nice spot.
I like it here.
I couldn't move. I felt the blood leaving my face. The kids, those things upstairs, had opened the front door. They'd let them all in. The guests moved toward me from every direction, slow, unhurried, their footsteps all landing at the same time, like a drumbeat. They knew I had nowhere to go. I backed up, stumbled on the bottom step. My heart was going to tear through my chest. The upstairs bathroom. There's a window. That was the only thought I had. The only thread. I raised the shotgun without aiming and pulled the trigger. The blast blew the room apart. A young guy in a brown delivery uniform went down hard, face gone. Cap flew off sideways. I fired again into the crowd, pushing from the hallway. A man in torn pajama pants crumpled to the floor like a bag of sand. Blood across the hardwood. The rest hesitated. Just a second. I took the stairs 3 at a time, sweat pouring into my eyes. Stumbled into the bathroom, slammed the door, threw the puny little lock, and it started rattling almost immediately. They were already on the other side, beating against the wood. The door was flexing, cracking. I went for the window, yanked the frame. Stuck. Hadn't been opened in years. Of course. Behind me, the door screaming on its hinges. Voices through the wood.
"Where are you going? Don't leave."
I grabbed the frame with both hands and pulled with everything I had left. It gave. A sharp, wrenching squeal. I threw one leg over the sill, pushed myself halfway through, and the door exploded off the hinges. The room flooded. Shadows everywhere. I fired blind. Someone made a wet sound. I dropped out the window, hit the ground shoulder first. White sparks. Couldn't breathe. Pain like a lightning strike through my whole side. But I pushed myself up. Legs weren't broken. I said it twice. Legs aren't broken. Move. I stumbled away from the house without looking back. From behind me, voices floated out. Low, dragging, almost playful.
Don't go.
Where are you going?
Such a nice house.
Come back.
At Stan's, a bicycle was leaning against the fence. You're not gonna need it anymore, buddy. I climbed the fence, nearly fell, hand slipping. Behind me, the voices were getting closer, silhouettes cutting through the dark.
Come back. Come back. Where are you going? Come back.
I swung the gate open, jumped on the bike, slung the shotgun over my back. The strap cut into my wrecked shoulder. I pushed down on the pedals and the tires bit into the gravel. I rode down the street and didn't look. Bodies on both sides. Charred hands and feet. Blood-soaked faces. Split open torsos. I kept my eyes on the road ahead. Faster. I turned onto the main road, heading toward the city. Screaming in the distance. Sharp. Frantic. A man ran out of a house up ahead. Didn't make it 2 steps before dark shapes came out of nowhere and dragged him back inside. I pushed harder. My legs were burning. Something lunged out of the dark at me. Fingers slid across my sleeve. I wrenched the handlebars, almost went down, caught myself, drove the pedals harder. Wind in my face, lungs raw. Then, something blocked the road. An overturned military truck, crushed in on itself. Windshield gone. Bodies in uniforms scattered around it. Dark shapes in the dirt. Blood and dust. Even they didn't make it, I thought. But right behind that thought, the checkpoints, the roadblocks. Nobody left to stop me. I could get through. I could get to the city, to Lily, to Lauren. They're the only people I can still trust, if they're still alive. I rode the empty road, nothing but wreckage and bodies from one end to the other, torn apart, broken, faces aimed at the sky. The smell of burnt flesh was everywhere. My shoulder pulsed with every push of the pedal, the handlebars slick in my hands, the bike wobbling. I barely kept it upright. I was maybe 2 miles out when the horizon started going pale. Dawn. The sun. If I was caught in the open, I was done. I needed shelter. There, ahead, a roadside gas station with a little convenience store attached. The sign was barely hanging on. I turned toward it, stashed the bike behind some bushes, and approached with the shotgun up. 2 shells left. I'd already made my decision. One I was saving for myself, if it came to that. Inside, quiet. Dust turning slowly in the air, settling on empty shelves. Smashed register, displays knocked over, broken glass popping under every step. Nobody here. I put my back against a shelf, and the exhaustion came down on me like something physical, like gravity doubled. The last few hours stacked themselves on top of me. The escape, the bodies, the children with their wide, white smiles. I was out before I realized I was falling asleep. I came back to a voice.
Please don't. Please. Please.
Then laughter, low, from the back of the throat, the kind that turns your blood cold. I grabbed the shotgun, my whole body locked up.
Help. Help. Help me.
I wanted to move. I wanted to do something, but my legs were stone, Fear had me pinned to the floor like a specimen. Then, the sound. Wet. Tearing. The sound of something being ripped apart. Raw. One more scream. Short. Cut off. And then, nothing. I sat pressed against the shelf with my mouth shut, barely breathing. Heavy footsteps shuffled across the floor and faded. I waited. An hour, maybe 2. Long enough that I lost track. Finally, I made myself move. I looked around the edge of the shelf. In the far corner, by a shattered display case, a man's body, one arm missing. His head was lying about a foot away from his shoulders. Eyes open wide, frozen in horror. Blood pooled underneath him, still faintly glistening where a strip of moonlight came through a cracked window. My stomach collapsed. I put my hand over my mouth. I was ashamed. Ashamed I'd done nothing. But 1 dead is better than 2. That's what I told myself. Right? Outside, it was dark again. I could move. I stepped over the body and got out. The bike was still in the bushes. My shoulders screamed with every revolution of the pedals, but I rode. When I reached the city, it was like riding into the end of the world. Buildings collapsed. Some still had fire-blackened walls, hollow windows staring out like empty eye sockets. Storefronts blown out, glass spread across the sidewalks like broken crystal. Overturned cars still trailing smoke. Bodies on every block, some curled up, some splayed with their arms wide like they were trying to hold on to the ground. In one spot, there were dozens of them piled together, already rotting. The smell hit me in waves, smoke and blood and decay, all at once. Total collapse. I pedaled through it with one thought running on repeat. Please let them be alive. Please let Lily and Lauren be alive. But honestly, looking at what this city had become, I couldn't picture how anyone could have survived it. I found the building, our old apartment building, where Lauren and I had been a family, where Lily had taken her first steps and drawn on the walls with her markers, like it was her personal art project. The lobby door was hanging from one hinge, bent and twisted like someone had taken a sledgehammer to it. The street outside was completely still. I dropped the bike at the entrance. It hit the pavement with a hollow clang. 9 floors, no elevator. I wouldn't have touched it anyway. The stairs crunched with broken glass and debris under every step. I reached the door, our old door. I knocked. Silence. Then, my daughter's voice.
Daddy? Daddy, is that you?
Something in my chest compressed so hard I couldn't breathe. I pressed my forehead against the door and felt the tears burning behind my eyes. And then, her voice stopped, like someone had covered her mouth. I went still. It's me, sweetheart. It's Daddy. Lauren, open up. It's really me. I tried to keep my voice steady. Then Lauren, barely above a whisper, afraid.
I'm sorry, Ethan. I can't.
Please. The word tore out of me. I'll do any test you want. Ask me anything. I'll prove it. Silence. Lauren, you have no idea what I went through to get here. Just tell me what you need from me. How do I prove I'm not one of them?
I have to think about Lily. I'm sorry. I really am. I'm so sorry.
Footsteps behind the door. Quiet, moving away. Then Lily. A small sound. A half-swallowed sob. And then, nothing. They had gone deeper into the apartment. I was alone in the dark stairwell, holding a shotgun, feeling the floor disappear underneath me. I thought, I'm never going to hold her. Never going to hear her laugh again. Part of me wanted to put my fist through that door. Instead, I just wiped my eyes with my sleeve, smearing dirt across my face. Because I understood Lauren. If I were on the other side of that door, I wouldn't open it either. Not for anyone. You can't trust anyone in this world anymore. Not even me. So, what now? I slid my back down the wall and sat on the floor of that dark hallway, and thought. There was only one thing left. One thing I could still do. Stand here, outside this door, and not let anyone through. Not guests, not strangers, not anything that moves through the night. I would do that. I would stay right here and keep Lily safe, even if she never knew I was here. I breathed deep and forced the feeling back down. I needed to move. Check the stairwell. Check the roof. Find food. Other apartments might still have something. I'd find it. I had to. For Lily. I got to my feet, raised the shotgun, and headed down the stairs. Each step echoed in the empty shaft. The city outside was silent, but I knew. It wasn't dead. It was waiting. The guests were out there in the dark, their whispers already crawling through the streets. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I'd stay close to my daughter, and I would do whatever it took to keep her safe. Even if it killed me.